Raw's on the right path right now to, either gain new fans, continue the same fans, or, they might lose a few with the series premieres of shows and stuff right now in football, but this whole double pay-per-view in October, I think, is what they need to worry about. Just the ratings and the sales of that. I don't see people wanting to buy 2 pay-per-views in a month, It just seems kind of useless to me.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the experiment that they did so many years ago. What was that pay-per-view that they did on a Tuesday? What was that? Cyber Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cyber Tuesday. I remember that.
Yeah, that was such a disaster as far as the pay-per-view buy rates that they were like, okay, let's just move this to Sunday, and then it still didn't last that long. It went on for a couple of years, but then they changed it into something else. So, yeah, I agree with you. I'm concerned about this as well. I mean, the economy is by no means up to the point where, hey, we're doing 2-3 pay-per-views this month, and we want you to watch them all, so buy them. I don't really think we're at that point right now where, I mean, you just think about that casual wrestling fan, not necessarily a hardcore wrestling fan, but just think about that casual wrestling fan. They check out the TNA, they check out the WWE, they probably check out Dragon Gate, they probably check out Shimmer, they probably check out Shine Wrestling, you name it. That's asking a lot, because it would be one thing if WWE said, okay, look, we're introducing a new pay-per-view. And this is my actual mentality on this. I don't know if you, our listeners, have ever heard this before, but this is just freestyle thinking right here. It's the first time I'm laying this down. But I'm just thinking from that marketing standpoint, Chasity, and I definitely want to get your thoughts on this, because you have a little bit of expertise in, running a wrestling promotion with your dad and all. But I'm looking at this new pay-per-view from WWE. I'm keeping in mind that they're going to be doing a new pay-per-view, another pay-per-view later in that same month. Why not sit up and go, okay, you know what? This is a whole new pay-per-view that we're doing. Fans might not be too keen on it. Well, why don't we cut the price maybe in half for how much we're going to be charging for this pay-per-view? Because think about it. $45 plus tax for standard, but then if you want HD, that's going to be $54 plus tax, okay? But then you got to turn right back around probably in about 2.5 weeks, maybe just 3 weeks, and you got to put out the same amount for the next pay-per-view. There's no way it's going to be, for that WWE fan, I'm either going to buy this one, skip the other one, or I'm going to skip Battleground, and I'm going to go to the next one, which is Hell in a Cell, because that one sounds really cooler. I think some more stuff, medieval stuff, is going to happen in that one. Would you look at that and say maybe that would be a good mentality to go, or there's a lot at stake if they were to go that route and cut the price in half?
Definitely. The fact that they're having 2 pay-per-views in 1 month just seems dumb to me, for lack of a better word, just absolutely dumb, because from the financial standpoint, like you said, wrestling fans aren't, me personally as a wrestling fan, as a broke college kid, I'm not willing to spend $50 twice a month to watch a pay-per-view that may or may not be better than what I'm going to see on Monday night. With the rate they're going, like I said earlier, they've been doing so well, the pay-per-views are expected to be they either have to be really, really well or kind of a bust. And as a wrestling fan, that with little money, I would rather, put in my money to a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where I know they always, I know they always provide a heck of a show, and they're always entertaining, and they're always, they always have all of the action packed, and it's always a good storyline, rather than ordering a pay-per-view that's new and it's kind of being rushed into, there's no good solid storylines going into it that's any different than last month's pay-per-view or this week's Raw. It's just kind of I would rather not spend the money on something new. I'd rather stick to what I've got and what I'm used to, and I think that's the mentality of a lot of other wrestling fans as well. Why try something new when Hell in a Cell seems to be working fine? And I would love to know the financial or marketing strategy behind Battleground, why we're having 2 pay-per-views in the month, what their, what their thought process was when adding that, seeing as TNA just recently, didn't they cut back on their pay-per-views? They're going to have 3 or 4 a year. That seems to be super smart to me, because if WWE would do that, WrestleMania is always a huge draw. That's always a big sellout and huge crowds in arenas and whatever. SummerSlam's always really, really big. The Rumble's always huge, and I would say like maybe Hell in a Cell is up there. If you could think of one, I'd love to know what you think would be the fourth one. But just those four stand out in my mind as being huge pay-per-views, and the rest are always okay. But if we went without them and we just had Raws for those months and just had pay-per-views every once in a while, I think they would probably see better profit and more a bigger fan base out of those. Just because something independent teams deal with is when fans see the same people wrestle the same people in the same building or in the same setup over and over and over again, they stop wanting to see that. They expect something new, and when they're not given that, they lose interest and maybe just stop watching altogether. And I think that's what a lot of wrestling fans are kind of doing right recently was they just kind of stopped watching because they were seeing the same old thing. Hopefully those people are tuning back in now because what Raw and WWE as a whole has going on right now is super interesting and very different. And I keep throwing out the word real because it makes you feel the realness of everything. And it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. But I don't know if this would be a good time to try to book in 2 pay-per-views in a month. I don't see this being a big financial gain for WWE.
No, I agree with you 100%, and especially to be that wrestling fan that's going to be in that position, they're going to be looking at Shine 14, and that should be a no-brainer. Order all the Shine pay-per-view. That should be a no-brainer, but that fan's going to be kicking back. They're going to be like Shine, Shimmer, Bound for Glory, Battleground, Hell in a Cell. At least 2 other, so you're looking at about 7 pay-per-views for that entire month. For that wrestling fan that is able to put out that money out there like that, it's like you have my utmost respect because, like, God, what is that? Like, that's got to be like at least maybe $300 right there?
Yeah, close to it. I was over here trying to do math as you were talking about them. The average independent pay-per-view is between, for smaller ones are about, $10, and then you've got the more expensive ones that run about $25 to $30 for a pay-per-view, and then you've got Battleground and Hell in a Cell. You're looking at about $50 on average, maybe $60 for the HD, like you were talking about. Who has that kind of money, wrestling fan or not? Who has that kind of money to just kind of blow on a pay-per-view?